You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Locked On Jazz for the 17th of July. Summer League in the books. How did the Jazz fare? Roster construction by Dennis Lindsey and discovery still a topic. All coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Okay, it's weird enough when I do that every day, but my daughter is sitting there looking at me right now and thinks I'm totally insane. Are you joining me for the podcast today? She's ignoring me. All right, we are actually out of town, and so I'm just trying to bust one out for you today. So I have something for you this week, because otherwise I think there's a chance you would not get anything. I'm not sure when I'll, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. We'll start probably moving toward twice a week coming up here as there's not as much news to cover. We talked about the 3 signings by the Jazz the other day, and we'll dig a little bit more into what Dennis Lindsey did with roster construction here on today's show, and then wrap up Summer League. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai. A lot of fun things going on with Murdoch Hyundai. They've got some great deals heading your direction prior to July 24th. So warming you up for a little Pioneer Day. And by SeatGeek. Using the new promo code LONBA, you can get $20 back on your first purchase with SeatGeek. All right, I'll tell you more about each of those in a second. Let's go with Summer League. I really think it was a great success for the Jazz because I think it showed them what they wanted to on Dante, that he had made huge strides. I think it renewed some interest in Dante, and he showed some signs in the second half of last season, but got lost a little bit. I think it showed the Jazz that he is working, he is committed. That was the number one question, is whether this guy was going to put in the time and effort. He was a better player. He showed a left hand. He showed a jumper off the bounce. He looked a tremendous amount better than he was when we saw him last at the end of the season. His skill is this incredible speed. I mean, even in Summer League practice, he's just outrunning everybody, even when they do the sprints. And can he learn how to play inside of that speed? And can the Jazz put him in positions in which he can use that speed, which is probably a spread floor, open lanes to drive, and things of that sort. So that, I think, was a huge plus. Donovan Mitchell, there's a chance. I'm trying to quell the enthusiasm. Let me rephrase that. I just want to let him have room to grow. But you don't want him. Let's take best case scenario. I would say that Kyrie Irving took over his franchise too soon, too quickly, without any ramification for behavior. I think the same has happened, that Russell is a little out of control at Oklahoma City. You've got to keep the team balance still going to be able to have success, and that is where. So let's let Donovan just kind of develop. There are high hopes. I mean, this kid could really be a 1-2 combo who scores at a great rate, defends at an incredible rate. I said to someone who I trust very much, what about a comparison to Avery Bradley? And their comment was, he's just so much more skilled. So I think what we saw from him in Summer League, some inefficiency. He's got to play a little bit of a different game, but I think there's aspects that we'll see out of him that when he's playing with better players, that will give him an opportunity to do some things differently than he's done so far. And that, I think that's a huge positive toward where the Jazz are heading. And then the final positive note was Tony Bradley. His last game, the best of his group, but he showed these great skills offensively. He showed good fundamentals down low. He showed great offensive rebounding. I loved his second jump. He hit a few mid-range jump shots. I think everything that you saw in Summer League lets you know why the Jazz took him when they did. He dominated a group of not particularly good bigs in Milwaukee in that game, but that's what you want. You want him to show that. Is he a major minute player this next year? I'm not sure on that. But he has shown that even with the lack of vertical, he can get some block shots. He's actually shown, I thought, surprisingly good defensive skills on the pick and roll where he's dropping back and covering. He's probably not a guy that's going to show very often, but he covers his ground well. I was certainly impressed with what I saw. I like Tony Bradley coming out of the draft. I kind of knew that was a guy the Jazz had targeted. If you recall, if you followed our mock draft and Locked on NBA, I actually traded up to go get him in the exact fashion that the Jazz did. So I had an idea that he was someone that the Jazz were definitely highlighting and looking at, and I thought he fulfilled that awfully well. So those are the three good news. Bollenboy leaves injured, and I don't think he was terrific in camp. Nigel Williams-Goss, who I think some people are excited for because Stockton gave him the sign of approval. I think the answer on that is simply that he lacks some athleticism, and I think that was clear when you saw the athleticism of some of the other guys, and that it'll be a tough task for him in this process. Eric Griffin's an interesting player. I'm sure the Jazz would like to get him on a two-way contract or maybe on a two-way contract. We'll see whether or not that happens or not. So, and I think that I think Joel Bollenboy's got some work to do. Like, I think the injury's a bummer. I think he's got some work to do. I'm not totally convinced that he is a guarantee next year. I think that if there's somebody else and it gives the Jazz a better option, they've always shown the willingness to do what they need to do with the roster and make tough decisions. All right, so that's my assessment of Summer League. I thought it was very successful. The Utah Summer League was great. Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends at Murdoch Hyundai. Always appreciate those guys, and I've gotten to know them well. Fun stuff going on in July. They've coupled with Golden West Credit Union for an amazing offer, which is 1.99% financing. That's right, 1.99. So here's the deal. You get all the rebates as well. So that's $6,000 off a 2017 Tucson all-wheel drive SE. I'm driving it right now. Totally solid. Incredible. You can get that for the money. 2017 Santa Fe Sport. I drove that for a long time. Really enjoyed that car. It had all the safety features, had every single bell and whistle you could ever imagine, that you're paying $20,000 more if you do it at a Lexus dealership. I was so impressed by the Santa Fe. That's $7,000 off as well. And whenever you buy from Murdoch, you'll receive America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty and the Hyundai Assurance. So now until Pioneer Day, Murdoch Hyundai is giving you 250,000-mile warranty. So, it's all there. Really, really solid cars. I've been totally impressed by Hyundai and what I've seen out of them. Gotten to know the Murdoch family. Enjoy them. They are going to make sure you have a family experience. And then 1.99% financing and a 250,000-mile warranty and $6,000 back. Pretty awesome there. All right, let's go to roster construction for a second. There's something that Dennis Lindsey just did that was really interesting that I didn't pick up on when he first did it. So he signed 3 guys last week in Cephalosha, Jerebko, and Epe Udo. And they add veteran, solid. It's interesting, though. A lot of people around the league think the Udo signing was really good. They add a veteran element of things. They give the Jazz some great security. They give Jazz, as I said, 240 minutes of solid lineups. I think the Jazz might be the deepest team in the league again. So lots of pluses. The other thing that he did very, very subtly was not take any minutes away from the 4 players who I think we need to find out the most about. We know who Gobert is. We've got a pretty good idea who Favors is at this point. We know who Joe Ingles is. There aren't really any other players on the Jazz roster who, in this upcoming season, that I would say I'm looking to learn about, but they just had their minutes taken from them. But there are 4 players that in this year I'm going to learn a lot about. There's a huge discovery to Ricky Rubio in a different system on a different team with a larger role. Can he create for others? Can he win? Does he shoot better? Like, is he Jason? The Jazz analytics show that he's kind of on pace to be Jason Kidd at the same time in his career. Is he really going to improve his shooting at that level. And if he does, then holy smokes, what do the Jazz have? There aren't many players that average 9 assists and 2 steals. Is it suddenly all of his plus-minus numbers show in the positive direction and help the team win? There's a lot of exciting, to me, discovery in in Ricky Rubio in this upcoming season. I'm a huge fan of Rubio, a big believer in his numbers, all of those things that we've heard about so many times. But now I want to see it. I want to see it, frankly. Is it something that is sustainable? Is he a guy that can actually help you win? Or is it just a bunch of numbers stuff? Let's see it. So a huge discovery on Rubio, I think, at this point. So that's the first one that I would throw in there. The second thing I would throw in there is I want to know about Rodney Hood. Is Rodney Hood really, really, truly capable of carrying a team and being an 18-point-a-game scorer night in, night out? Can he get his health to the right point? Is he that good a scorer? He's been up and down. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I know that he is. I would say that I'm just curious to know at this point. That's what I want to know from him at this point in time, is whether or not is he capable of being the guy the Jazz are talking about. And if he's not, then you know what? He's a free agent, a restricted free agent at the end of the year, and you move. You got to make some decisions on him. And the same goes for the next two guys who I'm interested in. But before I do that, let me tell you about SeatGeek, who has always been very good to the Locked On Podcast Network and this show. SeatGeek is the number one place to buy tickets to any upcoming event that's out there. All you have to do is download the SeatGeek app, then go over to the settings tab and enter in the promo code LONBA. That's LONBA. When you do that, you'll get $20 back on your first purchase. And the reason you'll use SeatGeek is because they compile all the tickets from all around the area and get it so that you can not have to go. I remember when I used to have tickets, I used to have a guy when I needed tickets. And I'd go to him, and I'd try to trust him. I didn't really know if I was getting the best deal, and I was going to go hunt to like a bunch of other guys, and you always kind of wondered. You don't have to wonder anymore. They're compiling all of the tickets from all the areas for you, and then they give every ticket a ticket score, so you get to choose which one is best. And their exclusive metrics. Finally, it's all secure and guaranteed on the site. So absolutely terrific across-the-board experience when you're dealing with SeatGeek. So make sure you do the same. Download the SeatGeek app now and use the promo code LONBA. The next two guys are what I think get really exciting, and maybe even they play together. And that's Dante Exum and Donovan Mitchell. So you have this discovery on Rubio and Hood. But I think going back to what we were talking about Dante and getting him on a spread floor and putting him in personnel positions where maybe he's not running the offense anymore. Now he's maybe playing the off guard, or he and Mitchell are playing a little bit together and they don't have to be. Or maybe it's Exum playing with Hood and Ingles does a bunch of the ball handling and we let Dante go without that burden and he doesn't get stymied by it. And let him just kind of play with a reckless abandonment at his speed and learn how to use his speed, as well as letting him learn how to use his speed. This is a huge year. Dante's he's a possibility for signing an extension upcoming, possibility free agent, or at least restricted coming into next year. And so this is a huge discovery year for Dante to see what he's able to do and what the Jazz actually have in him. And it's his first basketball offseason. He's shown his ability, his desire to work. He's shown his improvement. And the final guy is Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell, we have incredible hopes, and they're probably too much to be fairly, to ask of him. We have to probably be careful about how far we want to push this. But there are high hopes for Donovan Mitchell. And so, sure, the Jazz probably could have added a 2 or a 3, and maybe even someone who could, quote-unquote, score at a higher level. But for them to do that, they're playing 30 minutes in the backcourt, and the Jazz, I think, have too many things to discover in this upcoming year to be able to do that or to do that and have it be the right move. And that's where I think it was a really interesting move by Lindsey. I kind of missed it when it first happened, but really what he did is he signed Cephalosa back up 3 to get the 48 minutes there. He signed Jerebko to play a 4-5 spread. He played Udo and maybe even Jerebko, depending where Derek's health is, Jerebko could start. He's done it for other people. He got Udo to back up Gobert if Bradley's not ready, and you aren't really waiting to see anything about Bradley this year. And if Bradley is ready, then you have to worry about Udo. I think that we're going to wait and see on those 3 contracts, but I'm hearing from people around the league that those contracts are team options at some point in time, a little different on many of them. So I think that's going to be the kind of a hidden gem in all those deals that Dennis pulled off there as time goes on. And so now you have those guys there. If Bradley gets ready to go, then you can move off of Udo. If Favor suddenly re-signs and that's who we are, then maybe you move off, or is perfect for you. Whatever it might be, you have the flexibility there. But in the meantime, you're getting full discovery on the 4 players we need to learn about the most. And I think that's probably the most exciting part about what Dennis did. And it just shows the depth by which Dennis Lindsey builds a team. So that is today's edition of Locked on Jazz. I'll be back with you at some point here, probably, I would guess, on Friday, maybe Thursday afternoon, but in all likelihood, or Thursday morning, in all likelihood. Yeah, Thursday morning is a possibility, so maybe Thursday or Friday. Anyway, thanks very much. Remember, our show today brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai. They've got great deals going on at 4646 South Street in Murray, also in Logan and in Linden, and by SeatGeek, promo code LONBA will get you your SeatGeek $20 rebate on your first purchase. Thanks.